We got some massive news coming out here from training camp. The Las Vegas Raiders have now officially lined up Jackson Powers-Johnson at guard with the first team unit, which could indicate that the Raiders actually feel like the best five group on their offensive line could be Jordan Meredith at center with Jackson Powers-Johnson at right guard. Let's talk about this report plus a lot of other training camp updates coming out. I'm excited about it, man. A lot of really, really good things coming out. There's a couple of videos that I want to watch and kind of break down as well. But Jackson Powers-Johnson is working at right guard with the first team offense, while Jordan Meredith takes first team reps at center. Jackson Powers-Johnson is out there in place of Alex Kappa, who's taken most of the reps at first team right guard. Let's talk about this, man. So, obviously, you guys know this. Jackson Powers-Johnson and Jordan Meredith have been going back and forth during camp. Both guys have rotated. Both guys have taken snaps with the first team unit, the second team unit. And the interesting thing with where we're kind of at right now is that the Raiders feel that the best five unit could be Jordan Meredith at center with Jackson Powers-Johnson at guard. And I think it's a very, very interesting thing that's kind of happening, right? Because yesterday, Adam Butler told us that he thinks Jackson Powers-Johnson could be an all-pro guard, right? He talked about how he thinks, he may have actually said Pro Bowl guard, but he said that he thinks that Jackson Powers-Johnson at guard could be a really, really, really good football player. And now the fact that Jackson Powers-Johnson is actually working in that guard, this now tells us for the very, very first time that the Raiders may actually roll forward with this unit. Before this actually happened, I would have told you guys there's just no way Jackson Powers-Johnson loses out to Jordan Meredith. Even though it's a battle, there's just really no way, right? Because Jackson Powers-Johnson is our best overall offensive lineman. I think Jackson Powers-Johnson is better than Colt Miller, who is obviously our second best offensive lineman. And to me, Jackson Powers-Johnson has the potential to be one of the best centers in the NFL. And what's happening with him going over to guard now tells us the Raiders actually think the best five is essentially to replace Alex Kappa. And I agree with that. I think Alex Kappa is the one weakness on our offensive line. I'm confident that Dylan Parham can go out there, and if he just continues to develop, he continues to get better the way we've seen him over the course of his career, as well as, just how offensive linemen generally develop, right? 4, 5, 6 years, usually when guys become solid football players. If Dylan Parham can just continue the trajectory, I think he'd be a good left guard. He's a capable left guard. And I don't see him being a weakness necessarily on the offensive line. Alex Kappa is completely different. Alex Kappa, to me, is definitely a weakness on the offensive line. And with Jordan Meredith potentially starting at center and Jackson Powers-Johnson going to right guard, that actually gives me a lot more confidence in the offensive line. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But I do still think it would be an absolute mistake not to put Jackson Powers-Johnson at center and just let him be the long-term center, specifically because Caleb Rogers, the rookie that the Raiders brought in, the rookie that the Raiders drafted in the third round, at some point, Caleb Rogers is going to become a guard for you. And which guard position is he going to play? Is he going to essentially replace Dylan Parham at that point? And to me, if I'm the Raiders and you want to go with the best five offensive linemen, I understand putting Jackson Powers-Johnson at right guard. One of the thought process as to why you don't move Jordan Meredith to guard is because he's on the smaller side. He's not super strong, and we've seen this over the past 2 seasons. Jordan Meredith at guard specifically, he gets beat. He has losing reps, right? Guys like Chris Jones can beat him. Guys like, Aaron Donald or Jalen Carter can beat Jordan Meredith, and they can beat him consistently. And obviously those guys can beat up on most offensive linemen. But if it's Jackson Powers-Johnson at guard, he can hold his own against those defensive linemen. And it's just different having Powers-Johnson versus Jordan Meredith at guard, right? It makes a difference. But one of the concerns I do have is that teams are going to say, hey, if Jackson Powers-Johnson is lined up at right guard, what we're going to do is we're going to just put a one technique between Jordan Meredith as well as Jackson Powers-Johnson to force those guys to double team. What we're going to do is we're going to put Chris Jones, we're going to put Jalen Carter, we're going to put, Kalijah Kancey. We're going to take these guys and we're going to line them up in the 3 technique outside shoulder of Dylan Parham. And then what we're going to do is we're going to basically force that to be a one-on-one matchup. On 3rd and 11, when we know we need to get pressure on the quarterback, we're going to isolate Dylan Parham and we're going to attack him. Now, the thing is I think Dylan Parham's a good offensive lineman, but if he doesn't develop, if he doesn't get better, then he's going to have losing snaps. And there's going to be situations where it's going to be key plays, key moments, and Dylan Parham's going to end up losing. And I say all that because, even though there's a one technique between Jordan Meredith and Jackson Powers-Johnson, sure, those two guys can double team initially, and then Jordan Meredith can eventually get off of that and he can go help Dylan Parham. But to me, I just feel like, if a guy gets past Dylan Parham and then Jordan Meredith's that next guy up, I'm just not sure I trust that as much as it feels the other way around where Jackson Powers-Johnson's at center. I know Powers-Johnson will double team, pass a guy off, and he'll keep an eye over here to the left, and he'll clean things up, right? I have that confidence in Jackson Powers-Johnson. To me, I think Powers-Johnson could be a really, really good guard, and in fact, I think he is going to be a really good guard. You saw that last year. Even when he played guard, the guy was really, really good. He was moving people, he was throwing people, physical at the point of attack. He was obviously a rookie playing guard, for the first time in the NFL, so he had some struggling moments, but the flashes were there, right? And I think when you think about where the Raiders are with their offensive line right now, it might make sense to put Jordan Meredith at center, but I'm also going to say this, if Jordan Meredith is out there and you ISO him, right, you put 5 defensive linemen, maybe you simulate pressure a little bit, you force the offensive lineman to slide right, and then you get Jordan Meredith in a one-on-one. Can he hold this on, right? Will he be able to on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12? Will he be able to hold this on, right? And that's going to be the one thing that I think the Raiders will find out this season. And I do hope this, there's one other thing that someone mentioned that I kind of agree with. Are the Raiders putting Jordan Meredith at center because he's like a really, really, really good football player? Or are they only working him in because they realize that Alex Kappa is just not that good? And Alex Kappa is a weak link. And because of that, we have to kind of go with Jordan Meredith. And even Meredith, he's not great. He's a good football player, but he's not great. And he has losing snaps. There are snaps where Jordan Meredith just kind of gets overpowered and he kind of just gets thrown around, kind of like Andre James that we've seen in the past. Alex Kappa kind of had the same losing. He was kind of losing the same way with the Buccaneers. And again, I look at what the Raiders are doing on the offensive line. Did we not put the investments in enough where we're not 100% sure with the guys and maybe we're struggling a little bit at this point? It's just one of those things where I look at the offensive line and I do understand Jordan Meredith. I trust him more than I trust Alex Kappa. But I trust Jackson Powers-Johnson at center a lot more than at guard. And I know he'll be a great guard as well, but, you're talking about a guy that is going to potentially be the best center in the NFL, right? That's where Jackson Powers-Johnson could be if he plays center for the Raiders. And we'll see what ends up happening, right? The battle's not over. Obviously, maybe Caleb Rogers develops a little bit. Maybe they trust Alex Kappa a little bit more as he starts playing against live competition. We'll see what ends up happening, but Jackson Powers-Johnson is playing right guard with the first team unit, which makes me think that's going to be the offensive line as we kind of go forward. So we'll see what ends up happening. There's a couple other things that are kind of coming out. There's some videos that I want to kind of break down. Rookie corner going up against Darian Porter in one-on-ones. One-on-ones don't always translate to success for a corner. It's a lot harder because you have much more field to kind of cover. Another thing is, this could also be one of those things where it's like a predetermined drill. Hey, you're only going to run deep. You're only going to run this type of route. So again, that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But you do see Darian Porter kind of comes away with the interception. And I love seeing a full rep from start to finish because you can see now what the Raiders kind of see with Darian Porter. I mean, just look at how much longer he is than Tommy Mellott. Now, of course, Tommy Mellott is not going to be, he's not going to be a 6'2", speedy, superstar type of wide receiver. He's a slot guy. He's on the smaller side. But just look at the difference. And look at Darian Porter get the hands on him at the top of the route. He stays right on top of it, turns around, finds the ball, and intercepts the pass. And then more than that, I mean, look at how much higher he's able to get. And I know it's kind of hard to tell, but just look at how much higher he gets than Tommy Mellott. And again, one-on-ones, we don't really know what they're practicing, so just kind of understand that this could easily be a defensive drill, right? So we don't really know, but I love what I'm seeing here by Darian Porter, right? That's a really, really, really good rep. There's two other reps that I want to show you guys. Jakorian Bennett has a nice pass breakup in a one-on-one against Alex Bachman. We're going to talk about Jakorian Bennett here in a second, but just a good rep, right? Good overall rep. Let me restart this and turn the audio down here. But a really nice rep going up against Alex Bachman. Hands on him at the top of the route. Gets his hands on the football. and breaks up the pass as well. So it's a good rep right there by Bennett. It kind of looks like it's the same exact route as we saw with Malott and Darren Porter. So I do think this is some sort of design route, maybe to get the cornerback some opportunities at trying to break up the pass. Another thing to kind of note with this that I'm seeing is that Jakorian Bennett. I understand why the Raiders may feel like, hey, this is not the guy we want to start. We've been hearing that Jakorian Bennett's been taking like third string snaps essentially. Look at how much less long he is than a guy like Darren Porter. Right, having Darren Porter out there, he gets his hands on the ball a lot easier. I don't even know if Jakorian Bennett touches the ball, and it's just a well-placed pass. I don't know who threw that. I believe that's Geno Smith. It's hard to tell. It's a lot smaller for me. I'll zoom in so you guys will be able to tell who that quarterback is. But that's a really, really well-placed ball. I mean, it's a back shoulder pass. It's away from the wide receiver, and it's away from the corner. And the wide receiver even gets his hands on it as well. I don't even know if Bennett touches that pass. That's a really, really, really good football. But again, Jakorian Bennett is there. Right? He's making the play on the football. So that's a nice job right there. And then we got one more. This time it's going to be Jack Bech going up against JT Woods. And one of the things to note with JT Woods is this guy took first-team snaps for the Raiders this season. And Tommy Malott, I mean, look at that. Over-the-head catch, falling out of bounds. Let's make sure, man, he got 2 feet in bounds. So he makes the catch. He may have, maybe he slid that foot. He may have had the left foot down as he catches the pass. So, yeah, I think it's a catch. It's a really, really nice job by Jack Bech right there. Another thing that we're hearing is Jack Bech is looking really, 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 really good at this point. And I know the hype has been Dante Thornton and Trey Tucker. But I'm telling you guys right now, man, I had a conversation literally just like 20 minutes before I made this video. And Jack Bech is starting to flash. He's starting to dominate a little bit. And that's a great sign because he was our second-round pick. He's the guy we kind of need to step up. He's the guy that we need to kind of rely on, right? And look at him just make a really, really nice play against JT Woods. Again, JT Woods is considered a potential starter for the Raiders. And I believe this is Geno Smith once again with the pass. So phenomenal throw by Geno, if that is him. Again, I'll zoom in so you guys can see it. But absolutely beautiful pass. Really nice route as well by Jack Bech. The guy's a route runner. And it's just a really nice rep right there. Beautiful pass. I like what I'm seeing from Jack Bech. And again, one of the things that I'm hearing is that Jack Bech is, from the last 3 practices, looked really, really, really good. And I believe this is the 4th padded practice. It might actually be the 3rd. So it might just be from the time pads have come on, he's looked really, really good, which is exactly what you want, right? You want this guy to be able to kind of show us what he can do when the pads are on. OTAs don't matter. Minicamp doesn't matter. When the pads are on, that's when it matters. And this guy is looking good, so really good sign right there. There's just a couple more updates that I want to kind of get into. Another group of guys that have looked good is Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Jesse Merrick said that there was a lot of action today for Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer today. Now, this is specifically during the red zone drills. These 2 guys, man, have looked really, really good. According to the guy that I speak to, and what's interesting is that it's not just Brock Bowers, right? Brock Bowers went for 1,100 yards last season, had 5 touchdowns, and he looked really good. We know he's going to be a great tight end, but Michael Mayer's where the question mark has kind of been, and apparently he's looking good as well. Remember when Pete Carroll talked about Michael Mayer in OTAs and minicamp, and he talked about what can this guy potentially become, and he talked about him positively, right? He's looked really good. He looks in shape and all those good things. But it's actually being put out there on the field, and that's something for me that I'm most excited about with this Raiders team, right? Is how do the Raiders tight ends kind of look? Ryan McFadden said Geno Smith threw his 3rd touchdown of the red zone 7-on-7. This time he connected with Brock Bowers. So the first 2 touchdowns went to Michael Mayer, according to Levi Edwards. Michael Mayer has caught 2 touchdowns during 7-on-7 periods so far. He's been having a really impressive offseason. And of course, the 3rd one, as Ryan McFadden says, went to Brock Bowers. So that's a good sign right there, right? Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer are kind of doing their thing. And more than that, I think for the Raiders, with Derek Carr, one of the struggles that the Raiders had was always in the red zone. we, 70-yard drive, get down to the 5-yard line, and then we're unable to convert when we get into the red zone. And I think the difference between good teams and average teams is red zone offense. Can you execute and score points down in the red zone? And now the Raiders should have no excuses because you have not only the 2 tight ends as red zone threats, you even have Dont'e Thornton as a jump off guy, right? Guy that could potentially go up for the jump off. Now I don't know how great his jump back technique is. I think it's something we'll probably learn in the first couple of weeks as we see him have those jump ball opportunities. But if the 6'4", 6'5" frame of Thornton, if he is able to take advantage of that, he should be able to have that ability where the Raiders in red zone should be able to have success. But again, you got Michael Mayer, you have Brock Bowers. These guys can separate. They're big, they're long, they're physical. They're too fast for linebackers. They're too strong for cornerbacks. We're going to find out a lot about this Raiders team as the season kind of goes forward. But something tells me Michael Mayer may end up having a really, really good season. I think I may have predicted, out of excitement, a 700-yard season for Michael Mayer. But I definitely think Michael Mayer still has a good season. And I only say that because, we've had so many targets and so many weapons kind of emerge. And we're supposed to be a run-first team as well. So, if Jakobi Meyers goes for 1,200 yards, Brock Bowers might not hit 1,000 yards. But if Brock Bowers goes for 1,200 yards, Jakobi Meyers might have like 500 yards, right? And when you consider the fact that the Raiders have so many targets, Michael Mayer might not hit, the numbers that we kind of expected when he was a second-round pick. But I still think he's going to have a lot of success, right? He might have 10 touchdowns this season. He might have, 50 catches, and 36 of those are first-down catches. I think the Raiders tight end group's in a really, really good spot, and it is one of the units that I'm excited about. The Raiders are really good this year, and I cannot overstate that. I'm not saying that just trying to be biased and those type of things. The Raiders are a legit football team this season. Our offense, Geno Smith has multiple weapons, and these are good players, right? Like, Ashton Jeanty can make anybody miss. There's no player in the NFL that he can't make miss. Brock Bowers can beat anybody in the NFL. There's no one player he cannot beat. And that's just our 2 guys at the top, and you got to rely on those guys at the top. But then you get into like Jakobi Meyers, and you get into Jack Bech and Dont'e Thornton and Trey Tucker. And I know those 4 guys, 3 of those 4, excluding Jakobi, I know 3 of those 4 haven't really proven it. I think they're going to end up flashing this season. And when they get the opportunities, when their numbers are called, they're going to have success. Michael Mayer is going to end up being a really good football player this season. We hear all the reports that he's looking good. That doesn't include the defense side of the football, which I won't talk about, but I think even our defense is going to be legit. Let's wrap this up, man. We got just one final update that I want to kind of talk about. So as I mentioned, talk a little bit about Jakorian. He actually had his presser today, and I want you guys to go check the video out. I won't play it here due to copyright. I don't want the video to end up getting struck down. But Jakorian Bennett said that he's been undeterred by spending a lot of time with the backups this season. He's saying it hasn't hurt his confidence. He said it will be interesting to see if he gets more looks with the starters at some point. That's what Tashawn Reed said. But Jakorian Bennett said he's been undeterred by spending time with the backups. Now, here's the thing with Jakorian. From the reports that I've heard, this guy has had opportunities with the ones. He just hasn't looked good, right? He hasn't been able to be consistent with the ones. And with that, he kind of got demoted to the twos. And he also struggled at times with the twos. And guys like JT Woods has stepped up. And again, I already said this earlier, but JT Woods today took snaps with the first team unit. JT Woods has kind of overtaken Jakorian at this point. DeCameron Richardson, Darian Porter, Eric Stokes. We have 4 corners right now ahead of Jakorian Bennett. That doesn't include guys with upside, right? Guys like Grady Vance, who has multiple 5 interceptions in college in that final year. And then he also has had 2 interceptions in the padded portion of practice for the Raiders. That doesn't include some of the other guys that we have at the corner position, right? Guys like John Humphrey, guys like Sam Webb, guys like Darnay Holmes, guys like Lonnie Johnson, who I know he's listed as safety, but he's playing slot for the Raiders a little bit this season as well. I know it hasn't hurt his confidence, as Jakorian Bennett's kind of saying. The guys, hasn't looked great, according to the reports. But, the good thing for Jakorian is that, the the roster spots and guys that are going to end up starting and guys that end up playing, that stuff's not determined in the first 3 or 4 days of padded practice or during OTAs or the non-padded portion of practice. That stuff's going to be determined in preseason games. That stuff's going to be determined when week 1 and 2 kind of come around as well, depending on what happens in preseason, make the 53-man roster, which I think Jakorian will. That stuff kind of gets, decided, when real football kind of starts. And talking about real football, man, today, first day of an actual football game, it'll be 100% backups, but I'm sure there's some random Lions players that I'll probably be interested in breaking down tape, which I will get into on the Football Scout channel. If you guys are interested in that, YouTube, go to YouTube, put in the Football Scout. I have a whole different channel, only for basically film breakdowns, right? So go check that out. But just kind of getting back to Jakorian Bennett, he's spending time with backups, and it hasn't hurt his confidence, and that's great. I want to see Jakorian Bennett go out there and really, understand that the Raiders are basically looking to replace you, right? Literally, that is what the Raiders are looking for. They're looking for consistency. They're looking for guys that'll be out there for 17 games. And Jakorian Bennett should take that as a challenge, and hopefully when, our first preseason game comes up in a week from today, I hope this guy steps up to the challenge and he actually ends up having success. We'll see what ends up happening, man. Obviously, as I stated, I'm very, very, very excited for the Raiders this season. Let me know what you guys think, man. I hope you guys have been enjoying these updates that are coming out. Let me know what you guys think. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.